It's a long way from Kamloops, BC, to Mission, South Dakota in the United States. We're off to meet an Indigenous group that knows firsthand the pain Canada's Indigenous peoples are dealing with over missing children lost at Indian residential schools. The Rosebud Sioux Indian tribe was able to bring home the bones of their ancestral children, kids from Sichungo lands who died more than a century ago while having the Indian taught out of them.
You know, when they were taken, they were just children, and so we wanted to bring them back, and here they're protected forever. Jessica Two Eagles' relative has finally been laid to rest in the land where he always belonged. The Veteran Cemetery was kind of the perfect place for some, and then of course some of the families wanted to bury them in their home cemeteries. So
let's see who they were. There's flowers and even a toy. Mm-hmm. Warren Painter. Maud Little Girl.
You know, we finally have our relative home who was sent off so long ago.
The Carlisle Indian Industrial School opened in 1879 and operated for nearly 30 years, with a mission to kill the Indian and save the man. This coercion forced students to speak English, wear Anglo-American clothing, and act according to U.S. values and culture. Tuberculosis was also rampant during this time, and more than 180 students were buried at the Carlisle Indian School Cemetery.
Wait for me, guys.
Why isn't this child's actual name on this headstone?
Sydney Horselooking is now 23 years old, but back in 2015, she was a high school student learning about the Carlisle Indian Industrial Boarding School. She and other students visited the former boarding school site as part of their experiential learning.
You know, why are they still there? And that question clicked in for a lot of people, and it got them thinking, because I'm sure at the time not many people were thinking we should go get our relatives. You know, it's time to go get them. It's time to go back.
It took a group of children to motivate the Rosebud Sioux into action.
There's been a lot of people who we've come across who came up to me personally and said, you know, why are you doing this? They're dead. They've been buried. They've been there for so long. Why are you doing this? Why now? Like, what's the big deal?
What would follow was a 6-year campaign to bring home the bones of their ancestral youth. Last summer, the first 9 remains of Rosebud Sioux began their journey home from Carlisle, Pennsylvania. It was a 4-day ritual that retraced the children's original journey to the boarding school from their homeland. Once there, the remains of 3 children went directly back to their families to be dealt with in their own traditional way. Warren Paintdirt, Lucy Take the Tail, Rose Longface, Maud Little Girl, Alvin Kills 7 Horses, and Dennis Strikes First were buried in the Tribal Veteran Cemetery. Why was the Veteran Cemetery chosen for here?
Because, you know, it's a well-kept area, and as well as we have our warriors here to protect them. We felt like that was appropriate.
One of the children's remains is related to Dwayne Hollow Hornbear's family. The idea of seeing his relative in a military cemetery, albeit a Sioux veteran cemetery, wasn't full closure for him. So it was incredibly important for him to do ceremony for his ancestor.
When he was taken from here, he was not a U.S. citizen. But when he died out there, he was put into a military cemetery. And when they were bringing him home, the talk was, where are we going to put him?
Dwayne never disclosed where he put friend Hollow Hornbear's remains. He simply went out into the land and provided his relative with what he felt was best for him.
I'm going to set his spirit free. And so I dealt with it in my own way and spoke with him in prayer and heart and said, you're home, rest here. Then,
How does it feel to know he's home now?
I'm elated, I'm happy. You know, I'm at peace now. I'm at peace, and that happiness that I've been talking about, I'm looking for. I can feel it now.
Families had closure. A lot of relatives here that never spoke of their experiences in boarding school started to speak.
Christopher Eaglebear was another student on that fateful trip to Carlisle. Now 22, he offers what bringing home the children means to both the young ancestors and him.
I felt like these spirits can finally stop crying, stop mourning, and hopefully go see their families, and if not, come back around and be reborn into this world again, but live the life that they're supposed to live, free and a child.
Hey, come on, Spot.
So what did we learn from the Rosebud Sioux? How is their struggle to repatriate the most vulnerable people in their history applicable to the Canadian context still unfolding?
I really want to encourage the Canadian people to pay attention to the youth, bring them to the next meeting, encourage them to pay attention. And if they are, then listen to see and hear what they have to say. Maybe they have good ideas that you haven't heard of yet.
Learn your history and your own personal history, your family history that you can share and saying, this is who this relative was. And share it. Share it. Don't be afraid to share it.
I would just say, if you come across a descendant of somebody who's either, who's been affected by boarding school, is just to give them a hug and let them know that it's okay. That this isn't a big secret no more. It's out. Word's out.
In Canada, we will eventually run out of uncovering buried anomalies. So what's next? The Tk'emlúps te Secwépemc were the first to discover a pattern beneath the ground. They have also become the first to begin the process of revelation. Canadians and people around the world nervously await what they will find. And if they are the remains of children who were snatched from their parents and died far from home, we have the Rosebud Sioux to thank for showing us one possible way forward.
I feel like it definitely opened the eyes for the community, and a lot of healing that still needs to be done, that needs to take place.
Well, Mish, there's a lot for people in Canada to learn about this experience of what to do with the children's remains. What did you find to be among the most striking lessons?
The most striking lesson was to not underestimate youth. It was youth who started this. There was a group of youth from Sicangu who visited the White House for the Unity Conference in 2015. And on their return, they visited the Carlisle Industrial Boarding School, Indian boarding school, where a lot of their kids had gone. And while there, they saw the graves of their peers while giving an offering of tobacco and candy. They asked a simple but profound question. Why aren't they home? Why hasn't anybody come and got them? When they returned to Sicangu, they asked the same question of their tribal officials. Why aren't they home? Why haven't you come and got them? That started the movement to repatriate, which resulted in last summer the repatriation of 9 children from Carlisle, which were brought back to Sicangu. 6 are buried at the Veteran Cemetery. 3 were given to their families of origin to bury. The lesson here is don't underestimate youth, because look at what they accomplished there.
All right, Wamish Hamilton in Vancouver, thank you.
Thank you.